Beijing is hosting leaders from all across Africa at the 2024 edition of the China-Africa Cooperation Forum. Leaders from all over the continent have been invited to the Chinese capital to see what reinvigorated Chinese lenders have in store for the nations. Ahead of the forum, new data from a Boston-based think tank has revealed that Chinese lending, after 4 years of a pandemic slump, is finally on the up again. But China is also shifting gears in its way it's choosing to spend its money.
Leaders from all over Africa have descended on Beijing to attend the first in-person iteration of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. All of them seek funds for major projects across the continent. Money that they hope will fuel the cogs of African industry, but also money that will determine allegiances in this new world order: economic, diplomatic, and even military.
At this summit, we will work together to determine the new position of China-Africa relations, announce a series of major measures for jointly advancing modernization, and draw a new blueprint for China-Africa relations.
China has viewed Africa as a crucial sector for industry and allies since the turn of the millennium. Bilateral trade between the two has steadily climbed ever since and has reached almost $168 billion. But trade is merely one half of the equation. Lending is where Sino-African cooperation is truly breaking the bank. In the lead-up to FOCAC 2024, the Global Development Policy Center, a think tank based out of Boston University, has updated its database tracing Chinese loans to Africa. The new data estimates that from 2000 to 2023, Chinese lenders provided 1,306 loans amounting to over $182 billion. To 49 African governments and 7 regional borrowers. In 2023 alone, Chinese lenders issued 13 new commitments worth $4.6 billion to 8 countries and 2 regional financial institutions. This is the first time the annual loan amount to Africa has risen in 7 years. There are 2 key factors that figure in this reinvigorated confidence Chinese investors are partaking in Africa. One is the recovery from the pandemic that hit the global economy at the turn of the decade. The other is more policy-oriented. Chinese investments in the continent in the early years of the Belt and Road Initiative dwarf this current uptake. The monetary returns on those bets for the nation and its lenders, however, have proven to be few and far between. Up until 2022, Africa's energy sector received the largest amount of loans at over $62 billion, closely followed by the transportation sector and the information communication technology and the financial sectors combined. These 4 sectors have till 2022 accounted for close to 79% of all loan commitments. In 2023, however, China majorly shifted gears. 5 loans worth close to $2.6 billion combined, more than half the total for the year, were extended to multilateral and nationally owned banks in Africa. According to GDPC researchers, Chinese lenders have used the pandemic years to re-evaluate past lending behavior and have begun to implement new strategies for risk mitigation. China has even resisted offering debt relief even as nations struggle to repay their loans and are forced to cut spending on essential public services. The emphasis or lack of it on infrastructure at this year's iteration of FOCAC is indicative of China's hesitance to splurge as it did in the early BRI years. The way China is resolving this infra vacuum is two-pronged. Chinese leaders are essentially pivoting riskier investments more towards their long-time regional partners, while bringing nations who received fewer loans closer into the ambit of their more risk-averse experiments. The founding decade of the BRI has proven to be an immense learning opportunity for both China and Africa. Both powers have used these years to identify policy and investment errors and reorient their economic engagement. It remains to be seen if this quality over quantity approach is enough to turn lessons learned into tangible results. Africa Bureau, WION World is One.